is with great pleasure and honor that I, Trisha Patnaik,
and I, Arav Nair,
stand before you today to welcome a visionary leader, an inspirational figure, and a true legend in the field of business and technology at the GSF flagship Smart Campus, Singapore. Please welcome Dr. Narayana Murthy with a huge round of applause.
Dr. Narayana Murthy's remarkable journey from a humble town in Karnataka to co-founding one of the world's most big IT companies is a testament to the power of extraordinary vision turned into reality. At GSF, we firmly believe that vision is the blueprint of a brighter tomorrow. Within 2 decades of its inception, the Global Schools Foundation has had a rich legacy of growth. Let's give you a glimpse into our school's visionary path through a short video.
What does it take to make a leader of tomorrow? A leader is forged by fire, shaped, reshaped, their metal tested, resilience and strength carefully owned. Yet a leader must also be like water, filling the cracks in a world rich in diversity, attuned to its complexities, flowing, adapting, changing. For a leader of tomorrow sails along on the winds of change, their minds purified by the rarefied air of lofty thoughts and high ideals, the jet streams of innovation and invention, neither of which can be enabled without space. Space that can both contain and expand, mold and liberate. A foundation. For a leader must stand on solid ground. Responsibility breeds sustainability. Wisdom is cultivated by respect for this earth. Building the foundations for tomorrow's leaders begins here. Global Schools Foundation, celebrating 20 years of premium education.
That is a very inspiring journey for Global Schools Foundation, and we believe it has a long way to go. Let me now call upon GSF's chairman and co-founder who has made all this happen. Please give a warm round of applause for Mr. Timur Nikar.
Good morning to everyone. This is probably the first time we have a leadership lecture series start actually way earlier than what we should be. And that's because of Dr. Narayana Murthy's efficiency. He was early to be received, and he's early to the school, and this is something we should all learn about. So respected Dr. Narayana Murthy, dignitaries, teachers, students, and parents, and our Global One community members who are joining us live from other countries. On behalf of the Global Schools Foundation, I'm thrilled to be welcoming Mr. Murthy to our popular GSF Leadership Lecture Series, taking place at the flagship GIIS SMART Campus in Singapore. Mr. Murthy's vision and leadership has given us a world-class software organization, as we all know, which has contributed significantly to the digitization revolution of the past 3 decades. What I want to share with you students today is the enormous influence Mr. Murthy, his advice, and his mentorship has had on the GSF schools to enable it to reach where we are today. Mr. Murthy's first visit was in 2003 at the Mount Sophia campus in Singapore, where we had your gracious presence for a school celebration. Mr. Murthy visited GIIS again in 2009, and guess what? His book, A Better India, A Better World, was launched none other by Singapore's legendary His Excellency former Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Coincidentally, as Mr. Murthy visits us again, the Singapore nation is observing the 100th birth anniversary of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. I had the good fortune of being on the same stage as Mr. Murthy and Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and listening to their words of wisdom. And believe me when I say, the entire book launch was an earth-shaking experience for me. Few things stood out from that historical visit of Mr. Lee to the GIIS campus. It proved that we were experiencing the thinking might of the world's greatest leaders. First, an important learning was about the distinctive sharpness of mind displayed by Mr. Lee during his visit. When he arrived at the GIIS campus, that time he was 86-year-old, and Mr. Lee spotted flag-waving students in the crowd who to him didn't look Indian, but were from other Asian countries. The prospect of Chinese, Japanese, or Korean students, or any other Asian nationalities studying at GIIS intrigued him, or rather I should say, really baffled him. And he was quick to ask, what made them join GIIS and not seek other schools? Of course, my answer to them was that they wanted to experience the powerful STEM programs that we offer in our schools and the excellent university placements that they look forward to after graduating. But even at that age, his power of sharp observation and pointed questions was once-in-a-lifetime experience about the quality of his leadership. And when Singapore media interviewed him for his autobiography, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew had made a very generous mention of his visit to the Global Indian International School in Singapore. We are so blessed and fortunate to be included in the legendary Singapore leader's autobiography. Since then, we have expanded, as you know, our GSF schools have been going to countries, are now educating 44,000 students from 70 nationalities across 64 campuses in 11 countries. And the latest GSF school is very soon coming to London. The second important lesson I learned that day was the importance of simplicity and humility from none other than Mr. Murthy. After the book launch, you were to catch a flight to, I think, Los Angeles, and the check-in time was closing in like 40 minutes, or rather the departure time. And you requested us for a quick changing room so that you could change into your comfortable travel gear and leave in like 3 minutes. At that time, the school had limited facilities, leave alone luxury of a changing room, and all we could offer you to the nearest location with a proper privacy was a small cluttered server room, which had servers and switches inside it. Without hesitation, you walked into the server room, changed the gear, and speeded off to the airport. It was a gesture of extreme humility and respect, which was a lesson and is a lesson for all of us at the school. Your simple and frugal lifestyle even got a special appreciation from Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, and when he addressed the media. Even today, we see the same frugality, simplicity, humble attitude, despite achieving so much. And this is what encourages us to teach our students that being frugal and nimble is a personality asset that they should develop. And that will not only keep them going in difficult times, but also lead them to a lot of success. A third incident where Mr. Murthy has also had a profound impact on how GSF functions. Mr. Murthy, as you know, is a patron on the GSF Board of Advisors since the past 15 years. During one of our earliest interactions with Mr. Murthy, and I think it was in 2003, he had asked us to define what a good school is beyond the academic results. Mr. Murthy suggested that we should think about ways to benchmark our schools to match the quality standards of the world's best schools. It was a very sound advice, which ultimately led to the creation of the Global Center for Education Excellence, which we started benchmarking our campuses with quality frameworks and all international quality frameworks. I'm proud to say that GSF schools were declared recently as the world's most awarded network of schools by the World Book of Records, UK, for having won over 500 plus national quality and education excellence awards based on quality and excellence frameworks from Malcolm Baldrige, European Foundation for Quality Management, or EFQM, Institute of Directors, National Quality Awards, etc. This small idea, which you presented to us in 2003, has led to quantum leap in the standards of teaching and learning processes, which further accelerated GSF students' learning outcomes by over 25% when compared to their peers from other similar schools. GSF students are achieving some of the best academic outcomes in the world, with 102 of our students scoring IB toppers and 44s in the International Baccalaureate. More than 800 students have scored A stars and A's in the Cambridge O-level exams. And our GIIS Japan school was ranked among the 26,000 schools by CBSE. It was ranked 9th in 2020 on academic achievements. Why? Because GIIS Japan achieved the entire graduating cohort average for the 10th grade of 94%. This, in a way, put GIIS Japan as the leading school around the world with #1 spot rating. And in India, as you can see, there are so many 26,000 students, 26,000 schools, and you could see that it was ranked 9, ahead of many of the league schools in India. GSF is perhaps the only institution to have the largest number of teachers trained in quality management. This GIIS SMART Campus where we are witnessing this special day, has now achieved a unique distinction of being featured even by the National Geographic Channel as the school of the future. GSF is grateful to the advice and mentorship of Mr. Murthy, due to which we work relentlessly in every aspect of teaching and learning and help meet the expectations of our alpha generation students and millennial parents. Lastly, we take this opportunity on behalf of our students and teachers to offer our prayers at the upcoming 100th birth anniversary of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Without him, Singapore won't be where it is today. We continue to seek your advice your words of wisdom and gracious advice as we approach this year's board meeting in November, and of course, many other occasions in the future. And to all of you young fans of Mr. Murthy here, we can tell you, apart from what he is known to be very good about, we also discovered that he's also a very passionate musician and composes music on the fly. And we had a great honor of listening to some of your compositions in the last meeting we had for the board during the break times. Thank you, Mr. Murthy, for joining the GSF Leadership Lecture Series and speaking with the students today. I'm sure you have made their day. And have a wonderful stay in Singapore. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Timurnikar. GSF started its journey in Singapore with its first school with only 48 students. That school was Global Indian International School, which has now 17 campuses worldwide. We are proud to be part of a school which has evolved with time and is ahead of the curve in providing holistic yet futuristic education to students to make them globally competitive. Here is a short video on GIIS's journey.
Leading edge technology, science, and sports.
Innovation, acceleration.
Space exploration. Right here, right now, my future begins. It's hands-on, but it's also academically way up here. So I'm learning the skills I need to explore the universe. And I'm expanding my skill base with these next-generation purpose-built studios. They adapt to a changing world. It's the future, and it's now.
Right here, right now. Technology gives me the opportunity to dive deep into research and innovation. With world-class educators to guide the way, I am best prepared for higher education and the university of my choice. New advances, new insights, mean new opportunities, and with them come new creative ways of problem solving. It's the future, and it's now.
right here, right now, at these smart sports facilities, while best-in-class coaches are developing my strengths, guiding me to overcome my weaknesses, and bringing out the best that I can be. So I'm tech-empowered for better results, bringing my dream into reality. The future, it's now.
Dr. Narayana Murthy, widely recognized as the father of the Indian IT sector, needs little introduction. Armed with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering and a master's degree from the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, he stormed on the IT scene to change its face for the better. He stands tall among visionaries of the world as a game changer in the IT industry. As a founder of Infosys, Dr. Murthy was able to revolutionize the IT industry through excellent IT services, outsourcing solutions, and business consulting.
What makes his journey even more fascinating is that he began with a modest initial capital investment of just rupees 10,000, but turned Infosys into a billionaire-dollar company, making history as the first Indian company to be listed in the American Stock Exchange, NASDAQ.
However, his distinguished service extends beyond Infosys. He has been a member of many prominent boards, including the Ford Foundation in New York, HSBC, Unilever in London, and presently the United Nations Foundation. He also serves as a patron and advisory board member of the Global Schools Foundation.
Dr. Murthy has been bestowed with many awards for his achievements, among them being a CBE medal from Britain, Légion d'honneur from France, and the Padma Vibhushan from India, to name a few. Dr. Murthy has visited us twice previously, and we are fortunate to have him among us again. We eagerly look forward to listening to your insights on leadership, innovations, as well as the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead in this world of technology. We invite you on stage to join us for this leadership lecture series and address the gathering. Dear audience, let us have a huge round of applause for Dr. Narayana Murthy.
Well, folks, it is indeed a great privilege, pleasure, and an honor to be in front of some of the smartest youngsters in the world. I do not want to speak too long now because we have a Q&A where you will ask questions and I will try and answer them. I have been very lucky to have two heroes. One is, of course, Mahatma Gandhi, who showed the world how leadership by example is the best way to instill credibility in leaders and to motivate people. And he also was unique in the sense that he was the first person in the history of this planet of 5 billion years to have shown that freedom can be achieved without violence. The second person is obviously Lee Kuan Yew, the senior minister, former senior minister of Singapore. Lee is extraordinary during our times for a very important reason, which nobody else in the world has achieved. He, of course, followed by former Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong and then current Prime Minister Brigadier, has taken what was once a colonized third world country into a leader of prosperity amongst the developed countries. This is the only instance that such a thing has happened. Former Chancellor of Britain, Philip Hammond, said in 2017 that he wanted London to be like Singapore on Thames. Can you imagine another laudatory phrase or laudatory sentence that could be spoken about a former colony by the colonizer? And that happened not because of some strike, not because Singaporeans pressurized Philip Hammond to say that. It happened because of a very important reason, and that is performance. Lee and his teammates performed time and again, and aided by some smartness, lots of hard work, discipline, teamwork, high aspiration, honesty, transparency, and accountability, prove to the world, prove to the colonizers that they can indeed leave behind the colonizer. That, my young friends, is something of which every one of you can be proud of, being in Singapore. Well, what is it that I can tell you, youngsters? You are the future of the world. You are people who are going to show leadership. What is leadership? Leadership is what Atul has demonstrated. And the best definition of leadership was given by late Robert Kennedy, who himself borrowed it from the words of George Bernard Shaw. And he said, most people see things as they are and wonder why. I dream of things that never are and then say, why not? Frankly, to me, when I saw the wonderful video that the youngsters played, and as someone who has followed the journey of GIIS, it is the DNA of this institution. It is what has made this journey possible. That is, most people see things as they are and wonder why. I dream of things that never are and then say, why not? Now, you are entering a world where it is much more interconnected than what it was during my time when I was like you people 62 years ago. And that world, thanks to computers, thanks to internet, thanks to advances in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, thanks to advances in medicine, thanks to advances in space technology, has brought us all closer and closer. Therefore, you are going to be living, and many of you will go on to be leaders in this world, whether it is going to be in politics, whether it's going to be in education, like Atul has been, or whether it's going to be in the corporate world, doesn't matter. But your charter is very clear, and that is you have to rise above religion, region, caste, and any other considerations or biases that divide us, because a leader is a uniter. Leader is not a divider. And nobody else has demonstrated this better than former Prime Minister Lee and, of course, his successors in creating a Singapore which had lived in harmony with people from different religions, different regions, and different beliefs. So therefore, every one of you will have to become good citizens first before you become good students. And your aim will have to be what President Roosevelt once defined in his Four Freedoms speech. He defined a democracy as having freedom of expression, freedom of faith, freedom from fear, and freedom from want. If you people, when you become leaders, aim to make this world enjoy these four freedoms, I think you would be extraordinarily successful. But for that to happen, you have to demonstrate high aspirations. You have to demonstrate lots of confidence. You have to demonstrate lots of hard work, lots of discipline, lots of commitment, lots of teamwork, and lots of hope. Now, even before you get to experience those, right here in the school, one of the most important things that you have to learn is to understand why the nature is like this. After all, you people know better than I do that science is about unraveling the nature. That means, ask, what is the meaning of saying the sun rises in the east? Why is sun orange and yellow in the morning when the sun is rising and when the sun is setting in the evening? When I stand on the moon and look up into the sky, will I see a blue sky like I see here, or will I see a dark sky? What is the reason? And I'm going to ask you people to think of this problem. Is there a way that you can actually see the sun rising in the west? I want every one of you, I'm not going to give you the answer, but I want every one of you to think under what circumstances can you actually see the sun rising in the west? It is possible. But I won't give out the stuff because I want you youngsters to think. After all, you remember that it is only when scientists try to unravel nature, it was only when Einstein saw a certain irregularity in the perihelion of Mercury, and he could not reconcile it using Isaac Newton's law of gravity. That's how he developed his special theory of relativity. So therefore, what I would request every one of you is to start asking questions. And I'm sure that your teachers in the class will welcome you asking questions, not like our days when we were supposed to shut up and not ask any question. The world has changed. And once you start asking questions, once you start thinking about relating what is taught in the class to what's happening around you, that's the first step in developing a problem-solving mindset. You have to ask a fundamental question, and that is, why is it that all inventions, well, there may be one or two which are exceptions to this, but by and large, all inventions have come from the Western nations. So you have to ask, what is it that they are doing? What is it that their children are doing so that they are able to invent, they are able to solve problems? All of you know that yesterday they announced a Nobel Prize for medicine, and one of the winners was from the US and the other worked in Germany. So therefore, you have to say that we too will become inventors, and for you to become inventors, you have to exercise lots of Socratic questioning, lots of introspection, and connect what you learn in the classroom to solve problems that you see around you. I can go on and on, but that's not the purpose of today, because we have a Q&A. So thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I am 78-year-old, I'm running 78, but when I see you people, I get a satisfaction that this world will be a better place 10 years from now, 20 years from now, because I see a lot of bright, happy, curious, and questioning youngsters who are raring to go out and make this a better world. Thank you. Shall I sit there?
Thank you, sir. We are truly privileged to be here and have the opportunity to hear your words of wisdom today. I'm sure that all our students of GSF are eager to listen to how you have transformed the business landscape and also worked tirelessly towards building a brighter future for the world.
We will now begin our discussion with students from our GSF campuses. Over to the panelists.
A very good morning to you, sir. I am Ananya Sudarshan of Class CBSE 11 from the GIIS SMART Campus, Singapore. It is an absolute honor to be here today and speak to you. With me, we have Harshit Gupta from CBSE 11, Karan Puri, and Ishana Suresh from IB Year 1. We also have other panelists from GSF schools in Harrods, Cambodia, GIIS Japan, Whitty and Glendale, India, and OWIS, Singapore. We are hoping to learn a lot from this interaction, sir. With your permission, we would now like to begin the panel discussion. Dr. Murthy, reflecting on your childhood in Mysore, were there any teachers or mentors who made a profound impact on your life and career? If so, could you share the ways in which their guidance and influence, along with childhood experiences, helped shape your personal and professional development?
You know, I had the privilege of spending 5 hours one-on-one in 2 sessions with Lee Kuan Yew. One here in Istana and second in my office in Bangalore. And in some context, Lee was saying that a culture of open-mindedness, questioning, high aspiration, thinking, all these things are developed at home. And then I added to Lee's words that I do believe, sir, that the teachers in your early years have a tremendous impact on shaping your mind. Let me tell you at least one example of how teachers can shape your mind. You know, I was in my 11th grade. Those days we used to have 11th grade of schooling, 11 grades of schooling, and then 1 year of pre-university, and then you went your undergraduate degree. It was the last class from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and the teacher was our high school headmaster in the city of Mysore, who was teaching us chemistry. I was sitting in the front bench along with a friend of mine, a few friends of mine, and Sri K.V. Narayan, we called him KVN. KVN was putting salt, common salt, sodium chloride, as you people know better than I do, into a test tube. But he was being very careful, very stingy, you could say, in putting minimum amount of common salt into the test tube. My friend who was sitting next to me, he burst out laughing. So Kavian stopped the experiment. He came to our bench and said, "Young man, what was so funny about what I was doing? Why did you break out laughing?" You know, children are generally more honest than elders, by and large, all over the world. So my friend said, "Sir, you are being very stingy with common salt, which is so inexpensive." And he said something that stayed with me, that has stayed with me till today. And that's led to how I ran Infosys. He said, "Young man, this common salt is the property of the school. It belongs to every student in this class, every student in every other class. It belongs to every teacher. It belongs to every staff and it is the property of this community called Sharda Vilas High School, Mysore. He said, therefore, I have to treat this community property with utmost care. And he finally added, when this class finishes, I invite you to come to my house, and there I will give you a glass jar full of common salt, free, because that's my personal property. I can deal with my personal property in whatever way I want, but I have to be extremely careful in how I use the community property. So that is how, when I founded Infosys, we followed the best principles of corporate governance, because the fundamental principle of corporate governance is not to create any asymmetry of benefits in your own favor to the exclusion of other shareholders. So I think there are many others that I've learned from my teachers, not just in high school, but at, in my undergraduate degree in engineering, in my graduate degree in computer science, when I was head of computer center at IIM Ahmedabad, many. And when I was part of a 18-member team designing an operating system in Paris, France, from my boss there. So there are lots of lessons I have learned. But yes, teachers do play a very important role in transforming the lives of children.
Yes, sir. I do agree with you. Teachers are definitely one of the most influential people in our lives. Thank you, sir, for sharing your personal experience with us.
Sir, our next question is from Ananya Subramaniam from the Ovis Nanyang Campus, Singapore. The question will be displayed here on the screen in front of you.
Hello, Dr. Murthy. Thank you for giving me a chance to interact with you. My name is Ananya Subramanian, and I am studying grade 11 at Ovis Nanyang. My question is, you have often in your interviews mentioned that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew is your hero and you take inspiration from him. Mr. Lee also expressed and stated that people like you could transform India. That is a great compliment from one leader to another. Out of your many interactions with Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, which ones have stayed with you, and have you implemented any of his qualities in your life and work?
I think Lee was a leader who, like Mahatma Gandhi, believed in leadership by example. In my opinion, that is the first and most important attribute of a great leader. Lee Kuan Yew first did what he wanted to advise others, saw what it was like, and then only he prescribed to other people. Whether it was being punctual, whether it was hardworking, whether it was dreaming high, whether it was going through all the hardships, he demonstrated to the rest of the Singaporeans, first by following those words, and then making sure that others followed. That, to me, is something that I was extremely impressed with both Sri Mahatma Gandhi and Sri Lee Kuan Yew. Now, let me tell you a simple story about Mahatma Gandhi, how Mahatma Gandhi led by example. This is more apocryphal. In other words, it's may not have been a true story, but it's more apocryphal. I believe once a lady in Calcutta came to Mahatma and said, Mahatma, my small child wants to eat so many sweets. Please tell him that it is not a great idea to eat sweet. It's not good for health. So Mahatma said, can you come back after about 15 days? She went away. She came back after 15 days. And then Mahatma said, he told the child, yes, you will have temptation. I know it is very, very difficult to avoid the temptation, but too much sweets are not good for teeth, they are not good for your health, you'll put on a lot of fat, all of that. So the lady was a little bit surprised. Mahatma, you could have said the same thing 15 days ago when I came. Why did you have to wait 15 days before giving this advice? He said, lady, there was a very important reason why I didn't do that. I first wanted to experience what it is to overcome the temptation to eat sweet. And then I wanted to advise. So in some way, I don't want to talk about the incidents in contemporary Singapore politics when Lee was the Prime Minister. Because that's not, I'm a foreigner and I'm not supposed to comment on that. So Lee too again demonstrated leadership by example in extremely tough situations. And he went through what it is to give that advice, how it affects one before he could give the advice to others. So therefore, I would say that is the thing which impacted me most by interactions with Lee Kuan Yew, and that's what impressed me most.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you are a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist, two things that go hand in hand with one another. If you were to give some advice to the aspiring entrepreneurs amongst us, what would it be? And in your experience, what personality traits do you believe are essential for success in school and in life?
Well, I think there are three important attributes necessary for success at any stage of your life, not just school. But they apply very well even to school. And they are, first, competence, second, commitment, and third, character. That is, you must put in a lot of hard work to develop that competence. There are some students who are not very comfortable in mathematics. Those students will have to put in extra work in mathematics. I tell you my own life story. It was 1961, 62 years ago. I got 4th rank amongst 100,000 students who were taking the school living examination in my state of Karnataka. So I went to my father, and he was a very tough man. He said, "Young man, what happened to the other 3? Anyway, I had no answer. Then he looked at my marks card. I had gotten less marks in history. I was pretty good in mathematics, in science, those things. He said, why didn't you study history well? What happened? Then he told me something which helped me later on. I mean, I got 3rd rank in pre-university. I got 1st rank in all my engineering, all of that. And his solution was this. Whatever subject you are weak in, you have to allocate more time to studying that. And he said, how do you make sure that you are disciplined to regularly follow that regime? He said, write down a timetable. And he was a teacher himself. So that was when I realized the importance of writing down a timetable, ponder a little bit about which subject I was weak in or weaker in, and give it a little bit more time to study every week, and then measure month by month whether I was improving in that field. And therefore, what I would request every one of you is form a timetable. Before that, of course, understand what are the subjects that you like and what are the subjects that you are not very comfortable with. Form a timetable. Give a little bit more time for the subjects that you are not very comfortable with or that you don't like. And you will be surprised how you will be able to master even those subjects that you don't like. You know, I mean, I started learning piano at the age of 76. You know, it's possible. You know, most of you probably would all play, and when you're young, it's very easy, very, very easy. But as you grow older, it's difficult. But even for old people, it is possible as long as you are regular, you have a timetable, you are systematic. So I would say that's one. Second, you have to respect your teacher. Because if you, no matter how smart you are, you may be the smartest fellow, it doesn't matter. But if you want to learn what the teacher is teaching you, the first requirement is you have to respect the teacher. The moment you start respecting the teacher, you will start listening to that person. And the moment you start listening to that person, you will automatically start learning. And I have found myself that when I sat down in the class and listened very carefully to my teacher, that saved me probably 4 to 5 times the amount of time that I would have taken if I had to learn it by myself outside the classroom. So therefore, please respect your teachers. And you know, many times it happens, at least it has happened in my case. These are new teachers. They also have their own insecurities. When this is the first time they are facing all these wonderful children, so they may not come out to the expectation, but it is your responsibility, in order to get the best from them, to respect them, provide them opportunity to improve, and you will be the beneficiary. Third, I think, particularly this is true particularly in STEM subjects, that you know what STEM is. I don't need to tell you, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. and perhaps in economics and philosophy, which requires logic, and economic requires mathematics, some mathematics at least. In these subjects, whatever you learn in the class, outside the classroom, think about applying it to the real world around you. The moment you start doing it, as I already explained in the short lecture I gave, the clarity of those ideas becomes so much better. So, and then, you have to spend a little bit of time every day playing games in the playground. That's very important, because just focusing only on studies is not going to make you a full human being. In order to interact with others, in order to help each other, in order to exhibit teamwork, in order to have a cohesive vision or a cohesive target amongst 11 people or whatever it is, 2 people, doesn't matter. You have to play the game, because studies, unfortunately, is not teamwork. In some subjects, like in the chemistry and physics laboratories, or maybe biology laboratories, there may be a little bit of teamwork. But even then, in the examination, you are alone. I haven't come across any teamwork in the examination. On the other hand, sports is the only area where teamwork is most important, even in examination, right? If Indian cricket team wants to win against Australia, it's not just sufficient that one batsman or one bowler do all the stuff. So therefore, please play a little bit of sports every day. My father, when he was a high school headmaster, he used to lock the doors, lock the compound gates at 4:30, and 4:30 to 5:30, everybody in the school had to play. Didn't matter what class, what age he or she was. So therefore, I could go on and on, but I would say that these are some of the things that I have learned from my own life. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir, for your invaluable advice.
So, our fellow student from GIIS Japan now has a question for you, which will be displayed over here.
Hello, Dr. Murthy. My name is Leon Umeyama, and I am a student of IBDP Year 1 at GIIS Tokyo. I am thrilled at the opportunity to talk to you and ask you a question. My question is, with AI becoming increasingly prominent in various industries, could you share your vision on how AI-driven solutions might shape the future of education and learning? And what advice do you have for young students who are interested in pursuing careers in AI and technology-driven fields?
Well, I'm glad that's a very, very good question. Thanks a lot. Science is about unraveling the nature. That is, nature has a lot of mysteries, and you use science to understand what is behind those mysteries. On the other hand, technology is about using the outcome and the methods of science to solve real-life problems around you, to make your life more productive, provide better entertainment, provide better quality of nutrition, better quality of health, better quality of leisure, etc., etc., etc. So, almost without exception, even though most people felt that technology would reduce job opportunities, it has worked out to be exactly the other way. The more developed a nation is, the more technology it uses, and lower is the unemployment. That all of you know it, but if any of you has any doubt, please go through internet and you will find that it is so. Unemployment is higher only in those developing nations which have not embraced technology as much as the developed nations. So therefore, my view regarding AI is similar. Yes, there are some areas where AI will replace human beings. For example, autonomous cars. I don't know how many of you know that a study was made in the US by one of the universities, and that study said the accidents due to bad driving by human beings was about 4.2 per million miles. But when autonomous cars went through that, I believe it came down to 3.2 per million miles. So there are areas where AI is best left to machines. However, it is the responsibility of all of you when you become corporate leaders, thinkers, professors, bureaucrats and ministers to train the people who will be replaced by machines to take up a higher quality of work. What is a higher quality of work? Higher quality of work means more interaction with other human beings. Higher quality of work means providing better confidence to customer, providing better quality of interaction to all the stakeholders, etc. Whether you are in government or corporate world, academia, it doesn't matter, wherever you are. So, while AI is likely to reduce job opportunities in a few fields, for example, robots. I mean, I don't know how many of you have watched a robotic factory. I have done it in Germany, in the welding workshop. There was no human being there. It is only robots. But there was an engineer sitting there who was controlling the robots. The result was, this was in BMW, the result was better quality welding, faster welding, and therefore cheaper price for the customers. And the people who were replaced were very well trained to handle other tasks. Now, there is another area where AI can be used in conjunction with human beings, and that is what I would term assistive AI. That is, for example, you can use AI to help a doctor come out with better quality of judgment in a diagnosis. For example, a study conducted in the US showed that breast cancer detection improved by as much as 30% when AI was used in addition to doctor's judgment, with 99.9% accuracy. So in this, everybody is a winner. The patient is a winner because unnecessarily the wrong person was not diagnosed as having a possibility of cancer. And so much of money was saved because there was no need to go through further tests and all of that. Now, coming to education, I think the boy asked an excellent question on education. Now, you have this generative AI. Basically, generative AI is using, tools like ChatGPT-4, which are based on large language models. I don't want to go into those here. Now, how do we handle when people start using ChatGPT-4 to provide answers to the teacher's thing? My view would be that there is a need for training for teachers to improve the quality of questions that can be asked of students so that they can say, who has used ChatGPT-4 better? Let's say there are 4 children here. I should be smart, I should be trained to be smarter, to distinguish who has used ChatGPT better. Because you people know, all of you have used ChatGPT-4. It is all about what kind of question you ask. Therefore, what is likely to happen is teachers will automatically learn to ask better and better and better quality of questions. The other day I was listening to a very famous computer scientist, Jeffrey Ullman. Jeffrey Ullman, he won the Turing Award this year. Turing Award is the highest in computer science. And he was involved in a startup where the startup's target was, what kind of questions should we ask so that a mere, it's not a mere repetitive question, so that it is not a mere, it's not a question that can be answered using mainly memory. So that question will automatically lead to 3 or 4 sub-questions where the teacher can clearly make out whether the student had got it by heart and just tick marked, or whether the teacher the student had actually understood the question. So I think these are the ways that we will, in the future, distinguish between student A, who has better competence, from student B, who does not have as good a competence as needed. And this is just a question of time. Also, I don't know how many of you know, there are tools today which will detect whether ChatGPT-4 has been used in framing the question or not. Whether the output is from ChatGPT-4 or by human being. But that is for teachers. But I am not so much in favor of that, because I think I would rather say, I would think about how best to ask, how to judge children based on what quality of questions they're asking. That, I think, will be a better thing.
Thank you, sir, for your views and experience. We now have another question from Glendale, India, which will also be displayed.
Greetings, Mr. Murthy. My name is Vansh Raj, and I'm speaking to you from Glendale Academy, Hyderabad. My question to you today is, how can young entrepreneurs like myself incorporate sustainability into their business projects while striving for growth and profitability?
Well, sustainability is all about ensuring that we produce less of carbon when we use technology for productive purposes, whether it's generating electricity or whatever it is. Second, it is about conserving water. It is about not polluting the air, etc., etc. I think this is just a question of mindset. Wherever possible, if the entrepreneurs, the startup entrepreneurs, were to keep this in mind and use as little of electricity as is necessary, use as little of water as is necessary, ensure that they don't pollute the air or pollute it as little as possible. There are methods to do all of this. For example, polluting the air. If people start going in buses rather than everybody driving cars, that automatically you are reducing, or use electric vehicles, okay? There are many methods of reducing. Similarly, you know, in using water in the toilets, recycle that water. I mean, Singapore has done a very good job in that area, you know. And similarly, buy carbon offsets to use green electricity as much as possible. I think it is possible. Actually, I want you people to realize that quality is not expensive. Obtaining quality is not expensive. I don't have time to give the story where in the early years of Infosys, I demonstrated that quality actually provides you much better profits. Okay? So as long as you, those of you who will become entrepreneurs, keep this in mind at every point of time and lead by example. As I said, as I spoke about Lee Kuan Yew and Mahatma Gandhi, you have to lead by example in sustainability. Otherwise, nobody will trust you. Just words have no value. I do believe that you will be in a position to reduce generation of carbon, reduction of pollution, you know, use of renewable energy, and all of that. So I think that's what I would suggest you do.
Thank you, sir. And now the next question will be by yours truly. Sir, as students, we often find ourselves stressed out and pressurized to perform well in schools, exams, studies, you name it. Even now, as we sit before you, we are feeling the pressure to deliver our best performance at this event. And so, my question to you is, how exactly did you tackle your own set of pressures during your school life and career? And whether you had a few tips to share with us.
You know, life is about stresses. If you want to achieve something worthwhile, you cannot do it without hard work, without high aspirations. without being away from family. Those are all simply given. You know, and I don't know if any spouse will say, I want my husband to be a 9-to-5 fellow, come and sit all the time at home. No. Whether he or she would say, I want my spouse to reach higher and higher respect in the society, and I know that requires hard work, a lot of commitment, a lot of being away from home. The solution, at least I can tell you what is it that I did. I used to leave for office at 6 a.m. every morning. And I would be back home by about 8:30. And my wife, even though she was much smarter than me as an engineer, she had got a scholarship to do her PhD at MIT in computer science, which I didn't get. She sacrificed all of that for me. And so she said, don't worry, I will make sure that I will take up a job so that I am back home when the children are back home. I will make sure that when they come home, they do their homework, and we'll all be ready by 8:30. And then the quality time with the children, you know, joking with them, telling them stories, you know, singing with them, whatever it is, will all commence. And 3 times a week, we used to take them to some places where they wanted to eat some pizzas or whatever it is. And therefore, the moral of the story that I learned was, it is not the quantity of time that is important in spending time with the ones that you like or love. What is important is quality of time. Though both the parties must be looking forward to that period of time in a day when you and the children or you and your partner want to spend time together. And the moment at that time, you should forget about your stress, your office. So similarly, as students, what I would say is, when you go home from the school, first finish your homework. And then spend time at dinner with your parents, with your siblings, with your grandparents, whosoever you want. And at that time, don't worry about your studies. Go out if you can, and make sure that the quality of that short period you reserve for relaxation is very, very high. And I have found that by using this method, you would actually be looking forward to spending that time with your children the next day. And that will give you enough enthusiasm to complete the work that you're supposed to do during the day with as much of productivity as possible, with as much of commitment as possible, with as much of quality as possible, so that you can then spend that quality time with whosoever you want. That's what I adopted. And I don't think my children complained that I was not spending time. And I think it all worked out well.
Thank you, sir, for your advice. Quality time with our parents is definitely gold.
Dr. Murthy, this is the last question for you.
Yeah.
Being honored with the Padma Vibhushan is a true testament to your remarkable contributions. How do you believe receiving such prestigious recognitions have impacted your personal and professional life? Also, what advice would you like to give to the aspiring individuals who are striving to make a significant difference in society?
Well, you know, whenever I have received an honor from either the Indian society or the American society or the French society or the UK society, whatever it is, what I found was that it is like I am shouldered with a much higher responsibility to conduct myself even better than what I was doing, to work harder than what I was doing, to show even greater humility, courtesy and grace than what I used to. So any honor that you get, any respect that you get, any recognition that you get only makes you a more humble person, more courteous person, and more graceful person. Because true grace, true humility, true courtesy is what you demonstrate when you're on the top. And I would advise every one of you to take these honors, to take these recognitions as a sign of affection shown by the people. And that affection only means that you have to behave yourself even better than what you're doing. You have to work harder than what you're doing. You have to take more responsibility, etc., etc. So that's the way. Once you take it like that, then it becomes easier to handle it. But if you allow it to get to your mind or get your brain and you start demonstrating hubris, then that will be the end of the series of honors and respects and recognitions that you get. But all these are very short-lived. You know, I'll tell you a story. About 10 years ago, my wife and I, we went and met Professor Raj Reddy. Raj Reddy, I don't know how many of you know. He is one of the experts in the area of artificial intelligence, and he was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, and he won the Turing Award. It's like the Nobel Prize in computer science about 10, 12 years ago, I don't remember. So we congratulated him. Raj, congrats, you got the Turing Award. He just smiled and he asked me, can you name the person who obtained Nobel Prize in chemistry last year? We couldn't name. So he said, that's it. So he said, don't take these things too seriously. Yes, current year you will remember for a little bit of time who won yesterday that Nobel Prize for medicine was announced. But let me tell you, next year you won't remember. So all these honors, it is only for a short period of time. They are like this passing light, a rotating light. It for a short period, that light falls on you, and it is that time when you have to show grace, humility, and courtesy. And it goes away. So therefore, I would say don't take these things too seriously. On the other hand, take your work very seriously, because it is that work which has impact on your environment, on the society around you, on the people around you. So that's what I have learned.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful advice. Sir, can there be a chance for one more question? This is from our friends from Inviti International School.
Yeah.
Hello, Dr. Murthy. My name is Narayana Khan, and I am absolutely thrilled at the opportunity to speak to you and ask you this question. So the question is, for our parents' generation, career choices often revolved around well-established paths like becoming a doctor, engineer, or CA. But in our generation, we have a lot of options, you know, in fields like AI, coding, etc., etc. And this is due to the rapid technological advancements. So given this change, I would like to ask you, how can we proactively prepare for a future where careers and industries are so continually evolving? And what strategies can our school implement so that students like me possess a skill set to excel in these dynamic and ever-changing fields?
The reality is that as the world moves from one decade to the next, as the world moves from one century to the next, entropy increases. What is entropy? Entropy is nothing but a measure of chaos in the environment, in whatever it is. So similarly, the number of choices that we had were limited in my generation. I completed my engineering degree in '67, when none of you was born. Even your teachers were not born. Today, you people have a lot more opportunities thanks to technology, thanks to new areas of application of technology, thanks to new branches of science, thanks to new industries, all of that. However, all these things have one thing in common. It doesn't matter whether you want to become a genomic expert or whether you want to become a pediatrician in let's say certain and treating a certain disease for children, whatever it is. And that is what I define as learnability. As long as you develop learnability, which of course you have to start from your school days. What do I mean by learnability? Learnability is about extracting generic inferences from specific instances and using them in new unstructured situations to solve new kinds of problems. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you are in 1915 or whether you were in 1929, 1915 when general theory of relativity came, or around 29 when quantum mechanics came into discussion, or in 1940s when Turing enunciated his concept of computer, or when von Neumann in the late 40s and early 50s introduced the concept of stored program computers. I mean, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. all these things had one important objective, and that is to solve new kinds of problems and to make the solutions of problems that we have already solved to be cheaper, faster, and better. These are the only two things. So doesn't matter whether it was my time or your time. The only commonality is that I had some problems to solve. Today you have bigger problems to solve, or you have tougher problems to solve, but both of us have been with the same dilemma, with the same objective. And that requires you to have high learnability. That requires you to learn teamwork. That requires you to learn good values. That requires you to follow the famous 2,000-year-old saying of Sanskrit, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That means the whole world is one family. So these are the principles that were true during my time, that are true during your time. So learn to learn quickly, because that will help you to solve bigger problems. And at the same time, because the problems are bigger and bigger and bigger, you will not be able to solve them alone. And that's where teamwork becomes very, very important. And teamwork requires trust of every member of the team in every other member of the team. And that trust requires you to have a common agreed value system. So I would say that learnability, develop high learnability, develop a good value system that will afford you to work productively as a team, and that's all what the world will require you, nothing more. Even 500 years from now, that's all what will be required. But the kind of problems that your great-great-grandchildren will solve will be probably tougher, bigger problems, but they are still problems to be solved. That's what I would say.
With this, we have come to the end of our panel discussion today. Thank you, sir, for dedicating your time to come talk to our students and sharing your invaluable words of wisdom with us. I am confident that everyone present here will be incorporating your advice into their lives moving forward and will definitely be benefited by it.
Now may I request our principal ma'am, Miss Melissa Maria, to kindly join us on stage for a group photo.
As we conclude today's Leadership Lecture Series, we would like to express our gratitude for your participation. It has been an enlightening morning with all of you.